This game is called Don't Starve, but it should be called Don't Starve, Don't Go Insane, Don't Get Murdered by Any Number of Creepy Weirdos, Don't Get in a Fight with one of these red bum beefalos, and Try Not to Poop Your Pants in Terror. Yeah, this game stressed me out, but it was fun and creepily charming. I played 100 days of Don't Starve. I chose to be Wilson the Gentleman Scientist, as all the other characters were locked. Grows a magnificent beard. Perfect.
Say pal, you don't look so good. You better find something to eat before night comes. Who was that lanky fella?
Some things you should know: I played on default settings with no DLC added, and this was my first day of the game ever, and this game really does not hold your hand, so I was clueless and kind of terrified, to be honest. I collected some flowers, grass, and twigs before figuring out I could rotate the screen. Also, I was loving the art style. I grabbed this flint and found I was able to use it plus some twigs to craft an axe. I cut down this pine tree, which yielded me 3 logs and 2 pine cones. I continued collecting a carrot, some berries, and a seed, and this berry bush held a wonderful surprise.
What the heck is this? It's a bush turkey. Alright, I can make a campfire. Can make a torch.
I had 3 status icons up on the top right. One for hunger, one for health, and one for brain, apparently. I later learned this one measured sanity, because this spooky world definitely gets to you.
I don't really know what I should be doing.
I made the incredibly wise decision to whack this beehive with my axe.
Ow! I think I made a mistake attacking the... Run! I made a mistake. Show mercy, bees.
Night fell, so I decided to set up a campfire.
My brain is decreasing. There's a little arrow there. What does it mean?
It means my sanity was draining, which is what happens at night. I ate a couple of berries, which provided a tiny amount of nourishment, and I discovered the map. It looks like this world is rather huge. I acquainted myself with the crafting menu a little and made myself a pickaxe with twigs and flint, and a trap with twigs and grass. I set the trap up over here. And for some reason, I wandered away from my campfire.
Oh, it's very dark. Why is it so dark? Hello?
What the?
Retry?
What the hell?
Oh, okay, so you... I didn't get a respawn. I didn't know it was gonna go pitch black. Alright, Lanky McGee, yeah, I know. Oh, I'm near water this time. Now I know there's a section of the night where I have to stay by my campfire, I guess. I love the animation of the water there, that's sick. Alright, let's try that again.
So there's a couple of key lessons learned. Watch out for the dark part of night, because there are dangers lurking, and if I die, I have to restart completely. Brutal. By the way, on the bottom left of the screen, you can see my total days played, and up on the top right, you can see the in-game counter of the days in this current attempt. Hopefully this time I'll survive more than 1 day.
So I guess it's wise to just collect lots of.
That was my philosophy, so that's what I did. As night fell, I placed down a campfire and continued hoovering up this biome's bounty. And as pure darkness arrived, I worked out I could add more logs to the fire.
Alright, what else can we do? We can make a grass suit. I can make a garland. Something to soothe the nerves. So does that help with stress or whatever? I still don't know what this is exactly.
This garland does indeed make me feel pretty, and during daylight hours it slowly improves my sanity. As day 2 dawned, I made myself a spare axe and a pickaxe, as well as a couple of traps which I placed.
I have no idea if those are good places to set traps.
Spoiler alert, those are terrible places to set traps. I noticed I could see them on the map, so that was handy as it means they'll be easy to find. They will inevitably be empty, but still, it's good news.
What I really need is some rocks and gold nugget for science so they can unlock some more stuff. I found better you than me. True. Alright, there's rocks.
It's unfortunate this fella got his entire head stuck in the ground, but I'll take some freebies any day. I wandered into this savanna biome that had a bunch of rabbits and rabbit holes, and my first rock. It yielded me niter, rocks, and flint. I found another deceased fella up here, so I yoinked his puffy vest.
Oh, those guys look... Look at the stacked pigs. Pig torch. It's like a tiki kind of shenanigans. Yeah, I'm not going over there because they look like they'll fight me.
I also found these beefalo, which didn't seem to be aggressive, although they did poop a lot.
Something resembling a weird ritual over here. I think I avoid touching that for the time being.
As you can tell, I was a little bit scared. My assumption was that everything was gonna kill me, and so when I spotted these spiders, I immediately swerved. I set up a campfire and chopped down a bunch of trees to ensure I had plenty of fuel for the fire, and as true darkness fell, I continued investigating my crafting options. And I was suitably overwhelmed. Don't Starve is deceptively simple, with a whole depth of shenanigans to unravel.
There's a green bar that's decreasing. Is that like the rottenness of the food?
It is indeed. Organic matter doesn't last forever in this game, it eventually spoils. I collected my pointless traps and then wandered north a bit where I found this rocky biome.
This one looks like it's got gold. What is that? Leave me alone, eyeball.
Finally, I had gold. I immediately placed down a science machine, and it said it breaks down objects into their scientific components. And so I stood there like a goose trying to give it items, which did not work. It took me until nighttime to finally figure it out.
Oh, hang on. Oh, it's when I go near it.
Proximity to this machine allows you to craft various prototypes, which once crafted are then available to craft ongoing, even when you're not next to the machine. I crafted a shovel and a backpack, which gave me an additional 8 sorely needed inventory slots. I also made my first wooden boards out of 4 logs. I collected what I could in range of the fire and spent some time organizing my inventory. As I was chopping down some trees on the morning of day 4, something outrageous happened.
Oh, what the? No. What are you, big fella? Why is there an ant? Treebeard. I didn't know. Treebeard. I didn't know.
Treebeard seemed determined to whack me with his loggy paw, but fortunately for me he was rather slow, so I kept my distance and continued collecting goodies.
Oh gosh. Go fight Treebeard. Fight Treebeard, you weirdo.
I ran back to base and made 2 more boards, and I used my 3 boards to make my first storage chest. I chopped trees until dark, and Treebeard didn't reappear, so I can only assume he lost interest, and maybe started doing ballet with that tall eyeball back in the rocky biome. I made myself a fire pit, a permanent and more efficient fixture compared to the little campfires I'd used the last few nights. As I ate my last carrot, I decided I'd better figure out a better food solution, as I'd foraged most of what the surrounding area had to offer. I discovered I could make farms using manure, so I resolved to go collect some poop on the morrow. I made myself some rope out of grass and used it to craft my first spear. I dumped some stuff in the chest, and on day 5 I discovered many of the bushes had grown more berries, which was wonderful news, and I headed down to the savannah in search of poop. On the way there I placed my traps near the rabbit holes in hopes of snaring me a coney. I tracked down the beefalo herd and stole their 7 piles of manure, and on the way back to base I discovered one of my traps had sprung and I'd caught my first rabbit.
Okay, hopefully we catch more rabbits. If I scroll over this, it just says click to murder the rabbit. Fair enough.
I chopped down some trees, and when I got back home I made a basic farm, which cost a bunch of grass and logs as well as 4 of the manure. I immediately planted a single seed in it, and it didn't seem to need watering, so I let it do its thing. I then stood around like a goose looking at my crafting options again. I collected more rocks and gold on day 6, and as you can see I kept a few crafting materials handy in my bags so I could make things like tools while on the move.
Gnome? I'm gonna die right now. Box thing. What is this? Looks like an offering to the beast. Okay. I'm not sure what that means.
None of these strange finds killed me, which was honestly surprising, but I had no idea what any of it meant. With no idea what else I could do, I collected the day away, and when I got back I discovered a use for my shovel, uprooting these saplings and tree stumps. I also planted a few pine cones, so I now had a renewable log source right next to my camp. In the morning I planted some grass and saplings too, and expanded my tree lines a bit. I noticed my berries were now stale, so I ate them all before they got any worse, and I suddenly found myself completely without food.
Alright, I desperately need food. The days are getting longer. Anyone notice that?
By the way, the days are only 8 minutes long in this game, with varying day and night lengths depending on the time of year. As you can see, the days had gotten longer and the nights shorter since the beginning of the playthrough, so I guess it was getting close to high summer. I managed to find some berries and carrots, I collected 2 rabbits for my traps, and I went on another poop hunt. I also managed to anger this talking pig.
Ow.
On the way home, I ate all the berries and carrots I'd found, so it was really a case of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And when I got home, I found my friend had returned.
Except that guy's chilling near my base again. Will he be my friend if I don't bother him?
He seemed to ignore me for now, which was great news. I harvested this corn and replanted another seed. I uprooted and replanted a bunch of grass and berry bushes on day 8, as I figured they'd regrow close to home and save me some running around. I also collected more logs, which I used to make some boards. And I made some cut stone from rocks and used these materials to make an alchemy machine.
Yeah, let's go. And with that, I should be able to make an improved farm. Let's go. Improved farm can go here. Ah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
I planted a seed, and I guess this one will grow faster than the basic farm. I then took a better look at my food processing options.
B-box drying rack. The jerkiest of racks. I need charcoal. How do I get charcoal? Crockpot, make better food. How do I get charcoal?
I was stumped about the charcoal, and I was pretty stressed in general, so I didn't have much time to think about it. But one thing I was sure of was my dire food situation.
Oh, I can cook. Murder the rabbit. Cook it.
Yeah, it took me 10 days to figure out how to cook. Honestly, I have a feeling I just suck at survival games. It seems food cooked on the fire is a little bit more nutritious than when eaten raw, and my hunger woes were under control for the time being. I continued with my berry bush relocation scheme and collected a corn and pumpkin from my farms.
Cook a pumpkin. Cook a corn. Popcorn? Let's go. Here what? I'm on 97, I eat the popcorn. Okay, they only gave me 12. Pumpkin? Oh, that gave me heaps. What is that noise? What is that noise, dude?
Something sinister was taunting me, and I was not pleased. Wilson kept asking, "Did you hear that?" "Yes, Wilson, I hear it, and it's causing me to poop my pants."
Oh,
So the creepy noises belonged to these nightmare doggies. Fortunately, running around in circles like an idiot was an effective method of avoiding these hounds' attacks, but I eventually stood my ground.
am I just dead? Oh, I killed one.
I whacked the other one to death with my spear too, but I lost about 2/3 of my health. They dropped some monster meat, which I immediately cooked and ate. It helped deal with my hunger, but it damaged my health and sanity. I looked into what I could do to restore health and discovered healing salves and honey poultices in the crafting menu, but I needed ash, spider glands, honey, and papyrus, and that's basically a shopping list of stuff I had no clue how to get.
You trying to fight me again? He's friendly. Are you friendly?
I cooked some more popcorn and ate it, which restored a little bit of health, so that was a start. I headed out collecting, dug up a bunch more saplings and berry bushes, and found a trapped rabbit.
Wormhole? What the hell? I don't want to jump in wormhole just yet. I'm too scared.
The wormhole is kind of like a butthole with teeth, so I think it's fair that I was fearful. When I arrived back at base, I cooked the 2 berries and rabbits I'd caught and restored a little more health. I paid the local spider egg a visit and kited these 2 spiders around, whacking them in the face, and despite taking 1 hit, I was pretty sure I could fight these without ever taking damage if I played it properly. They dropped me a spider gland and a web. I made another trap and placed it, collected another rabbit, and then grabbed the random ring thing from this creepy circle. I also picked up all the evil flowers, and I somehow didn't realize that each one I picked did damage to my health and sanity. And apparently my sanity got low enough that I began seeing things.
What is this? You see that? There it is again. Look at them. Is that what appears at the night in the... Look!
I collected some more poop, witnessed a rabbit being caught in one of my traps, and collected flowers until I had enough to make another garland, as my old one had wilted away. And each flower also restores some sanity on pickup, which I'm not sure I actually realized at this point, but it definitely helped. I arrived home to an eggplant. I cooked and ate some green mushrooms I'd found, and these did damage to me but restored some sanity, and I cooked the eggplant to eat, which restored a decent chunk of HP. I collected a bunch of grass so that I could make myself another improved farm, and there was quite a storm, so I decided to make a lightning rod out of 1 cut stone and 3 gold nuggets. The tooltip said protection from strikes, so it seemed wise to whack one down.
Is this grass gonna grow, or have I just done a silly willy?
I had done a big silly willy. The grass does not grow when replanted until you whack some manure on to fertilize it. The saplings and trees do regrow though, so not all my planting was a waste of time. I made a razor and shaved my beard off, which was honestly a mistake because it was looking quite glorious.
3 beard hairs. Got some beard hairs, baby.
I spent the rest of the night chopping down trees. I made myself another chest and cleared my bags a bit, and was then visited by another tree friend.
Oh, come off it.
Yeah, so in this game, when you cut a tree, there's a small chance a nearby tree will become animated and seek revenge. As I fled the furious tree, I stumbled upon another horror of the forest.
What the hell's this? What the... What is this?
I love how Wilson said go for the eyes when I poked the singular eye plant. It's good stuff.
Why are there eyeballs here? I'm so confused. Come on, spiders. Come fight me. Let's go.
I collected my second spider web and returned home to a harvest, which helped deal with a solid chunk of hunger. I'd failed to lose the big old tree though, so he lumbered back over to try and whack me.
Oh! Terrifying. He's gonna knock me out of this planet. If I dodge him, then go in for the attack.
My fighting skills were elite, nobody can deny. but who knows how much health this big buffer has. I must have hit him about 20 times, first with my axe before moving onto a spear, and by the time morning came, I gave up.
I don't think I'm doing any damage to him. What am I doing with my life?
I then got in a fight with a bee and immediately regretted it.
Ow.
I collected from my traps and headed off to collect some more manure, as farms were basically the only strategy I had going for me.
Oh, why are you angry? Why are you angry? Why are you angry? You got a red bum. Is that why you're angry? Because you got a red bum?
I would be angry if I had a red bum. And have you met a baboon recently? Famously irritable creatures. Like the video and subscribe if you're sympathetic to the plight of red bum sufferers. Since my attempts to steal manure were thwarted by the curse of the crimson buttocks, I opted to place a couple more traps and see if I could lean on rabbits as a food source a bit more. It seemed I'd finally lost aggro from Treebeard number 2, so I wandered back home.
I think I'm screwed though, you know? I think I don't have enough to keep surviving. Why are my berries never growing? It needs to be fertilized. Are you kidding me?
After that painful realization, I harvested some corn, popped it and ate it, then murdered and ate a couple of rabbits as well. I used the 2 spider's webs I'd acquired to craft a fishing rod, and strode forth with hope that perhaps fish would solve my food scarcity woes.
Can I fish? How do I fish?
I was expecting I could just cast into any body of water, like in most other games. Apparently not. To illustrate how sad this made me, I stupidly transplanted this berry bush, even though I knew full well I lacked the manure to fertilize it due to the red bum situation. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, let's be honest.
No, where's the big fella back? He's trying to fight me still? He's been chasing me this whole time. How do I deal with this idiot?
You can hear how stressed I was, it's quite hilarious.
And why couldn't I fish? Oh!
I spent the whole night fighting the leafy dingus, and just as day 15 dawned, I copped a donk. Ow! I survived on 12 HP and took that as a sign to flee in terror. Honestly, I wanted to give up, so I had to collect myself.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet.
Honestly, I'm so brave, it's beautiful to see. I spent the day collecting rabbits and attempting to scare rabbits into traps, except this rabbit is a ninja. And when I returned, I had a couple of veggies ready, so I just barely stayed on top of my hunger for yet another day. By the next day, I was pretty hungry yet again, and still nearly dead, but at least I was fairly sane thanks to the beautiful garland atop my head. I struck out west and found some berries. I also collected twigs and grass as I was getting low. I collected a few rabbits and placed another trap too.
Come on, straight into the trap. Yes. Beautiful.
I arrived home with 4 rabbits and 3 berries and found I had grown some veggies too. I cooked all of it on the fire and then ate literally all of it and filled my belly for once. It also restored a modest chunk of HP. Those saplings I planted ages ago had grown, so I collected a bunch of twigs, and on day 17 I collected some grass, killed 6 spiders without taking any damage like a pro, and collected 5 rabbits from traps. I placed down 2 more traps as well. When I got home I ate all the rabbits, so it was yet another day of completely failing to stockpile any food. I made myself a pitchfork just to see what it does. It let me pick up the forest turf, which I immediately put back down. I'm not sure what that's useful for, but why not? A dragon fruit and some corn grew overnight, so I cooked those and then headed out collecting wood.
Ah! Oh, the angry ones appeared.
I wanted to farm spiders for webs and glands, but I didn't know these ferocious yellow spiders would join the chase, so I fled.
Oh, I made a mistake.
I collected grass and rabbits, and I managed to collect 3 manure too, as the beefalo appeared to have recovered from the red bumness. I then summed up the state of affairs quite nicely.
I'm having a rough time of it, man. It's a combination of you're supposed to have a rough time of it, like that's the nature of the game, and I'm just bad.
I also saw the tree fighting the eyeballs on the way home. I ate my rabbits, made my 4th farm, and then was assaulted by a combination of terrifying noises.
Oh no. Why is it? Oh no. Are you kidding me with that? That is like nightmare fuel. And the creepy music. Whew.
I was in no condition to fight, so I led the hounds on a merry chase.
Come fight the tree. Don't fight the eyeball tree. Fight the dogs. I'm dead. I'm so dead. Yes! The tree's fighting them! Saved by the tree. Hound's tooth. How am I not dead yet, man? Honestly.
I stepped onto the spider web, and this spawned 3 of the easy spiders, and then I did what was now the usual, collecting rabbits and manure. I also finally dared to explore a little more of the map, which revealed that the savannah is indeed large. After cooking and eating, I actually had 4 cooked morsels left over. Absolutely revolutionary. My garland had wilted, so I made myself a straw hat in hopes it would restore my sanity. It did not. And so after building farm number 5, I headed out in search of flowers to restore my sanity and make another garland. And I of course collected rabbits and manure. manure. That night, after eating what I needed for dinner, I had a whopping 7 morsels left over. Instead of a garland, I made myself a pretty parasol, as it cost half as many flowers. And once day 21 dawned, I found holding it was slowly increasing my sanity, so that was a win. I made myself a net using twigs, spiderweb, and rope, and then enraged a bunch of bees. I took a bit of damage, but managed to catch one of the killer bees.
Alright, I gotta kill a bee now. I don't know, dude.
I noticed the color of everything had shifted, so I wondered if perhaps it was coming into winter.
Whoa! What on earth? Penguins! They just... Okay. I shouldn't have attacked the penguins. Alright, so I'm lucky I fixed that altar because that gave me a resurrection. Otherwise I was gone. Okay, I'm frosty.
So I don't know what came over me, but I probably shouldn't have assaulted that penguin. I had no idea that altar thinger was going to resurrect me, but it was now broken, so I had wasted my 1 respawn over the impulse for penguin abuse.
Are you penguins still angry at me? It was a mistake to attack you.
Fortunately, all my stuff was available to regather. And to be honest, getting shanked by a penguin was much needed comic relief from the stress of this game.
Whew. That's so funny.
I harvested my first durian and replanted, and then I chopped down trees to replenish my log supply. Later in the day, it began to snow.
So I guess it's winter, if that wasn't obvious. I think the days are going to get shorter and the nights longer.
That was indeed the case. Also, crops, berry bushes, and saplings do not grow in winter. Trees do, so that is at least something. But of course, I was now subject to the threat of freezing temperatures. I made this thermal stone, and I worked out if you hold it near the fire, it warms up and retains the heat for a short time, which helped me resist the cold.
More penguins. I'm not gonna fight you, alright? Just chill. I come in peace.
Fortunately, rabbits still do their thing in winter, so I had 1 remaining food source. And on the way home, I learned what happens if you get too cold.
Oh dear. Now I'm losing health. How fast am I losing health? Oh, I'm losing health so fast.
I made it home with 26 health to spare and cooked my 10 rabbits. So my hunger was okay for now, but my HP and sanity were looking grim. My parasol had broken by this point, and I didn't know where there were any more flowers. And flowers were the only thing I knew restored sanity. So that was bad news. As I was investigating how to make some warm clothing, I was visited by some more creepy music.
Breezy vest, Colophant trunk. Oh no. It's this weirdo. He's gonna steal my flames again. Too late, nerd. What's this rabbit? Black? What?
So the 1 rabbit I forgot to cook earlier turned into this weird demon rabbit, which gave me monster meat when cooked. At the time, I had no idea why this was happening, but I later figured out this is what happens when you have low sanity. So now my 1 food source had turned demonic thanks to my insanity. Troubles upon troubles. I made a torch and lit this tree on fire because I was keen to figure out how to get charcoal.
There we go. Okay, we're onto something here.
I really should have experimented with pyromania earlier because charcoal would have been useful 20 days ago, but it's a learning experience. I got ashes from burning down a sapling too. Once I'd collected enough charcoal, I cut some stone and made a crock pot, and discovered this cooks 4 ingredients at a time. But I had precisely 0 ingredients on me at this point. I also made a drying rack out of 2 charcoal, some rope and twigs, but again I had precisely 0 things to dry at this point.
I think I'm screwed. Oh, my sanity went up. How did my sanity go up? It was lower than 96, right?
It had been, and it went up because I'd made the crock pot and drying rack, as every time you unlock a new item, you restore sanity.
Oh man, get out of here. Stop with your shadows.
I finally made a log suit of armor. This goes in the body slot, so when I equipped it, the backpack dropped on the ground. I killed a few spiders and collected rabbits, and I found they were still nightmare rabbits. I murdered a few, and they gave me nightmare fuel and monster meat rather than meat.
I'm screwed.
One of them even gave me beard hair when I murdered it.
Gave me beard hair?
So as far as I knew, I had no way to deal with my hunger anymore. No way to restore my sanity, although I definitely could have roamed further and found more flowers, or unlocked some new items, but I didn't know that at this point. I had 1 spider gland that I ate for some minor HP regen, but that was about it. I burned down my line of trees for more charcoal and made myself a boomerang, which restored a little bit of sanity, but not nearly enough. I took the boomerang with me and tried a last-ditch effort for food. Penguins. It didn't go well up close last time, but I hoped attacking from a distance would help.
Can I lure them away? What? What just killed me? What just killed me? I just threw... I'm like 20 meters away from the penguin. Oh no.
As you can tell, I didn't understand how I died, but in the instant replay, you can see I got whacked in the face by my own boomerang. So I guess I was supposed to catch that with my hands and not my teeth.
Okay, well, I unlocked some new characters. The fire starter. Immune to fire damage, has a sweet lighter, lights fires when nervous. The strong man grows stronger with a full belly, is afraid of monsters and the dark. Same.
The strong man needed a full belly to benefit from his unique perks, and I am quite famous for never having a full belly in this game. So I figured I'd have a crack as Willow, the little girl pyromaniac. Honestly, I felt pretty proud I'd made it to winter, and I'd learned a lot, so I felt surely I could do better this time. I set out exploring and collecting. I avoided immediately picking flowers this time, as now I knew they gave 5 sanity on pickup, so I left them until I actually needed to replenish sanity. On the first night, I used my trusty lighter to burn some stuff and get some ash, and I cooked my berries before eating them. A great start compared to last time. My plan for this attempt was to set up camp near Beefalo so that I had manure available, and so I could lure monsters to the Beefalo if necessary. I placed down 3 traps on this little savanna, and then decided to test out this wormhole that was near my spawn.
What does the wormhole butthole do? I'm way over here. Alright, I don't think I lost anything. Maybe some sanity?
So there was no real reason to fear the wormholes. In fact, they're a great way to move huge distances. There was a big savanna on the other end, and also this rocky biome, which I picked clean on day 2. And that night I had a wonderful realization.
Her sanity is going up, even though it's nighttime, because she loves fire. That is OP. Alright, I should be fine for sanity then.
This was indeed good news for my sanity management, and I need all the help I can get, so I was happy. My hunt for Beefalo continued on day 3, and considering there were huge savannas to explore, I thought for sure I'd find them soon enough.
Go away, eyeball weirdo. Walk to Walrus Camp. I'm not going in there, yuck. What is a walrus camp? Come out in winter, I guess.
I collected as I explored, and soon enough I'd explored way more of the map than I did last go round. But unlucky for me, these 2 rather large savannas somehow had 0 beefalo.
Still no beefalo.
I kept exploring and getting distracted by stuff to collect, of course, and I soon found something new.
A weirdo and a bunch of weirdo-ness. What the hell? Well, I'm not going over there. Look at all these weirdos.
I headed back through the wormhole and struck out northwest, and I discovered this flowery biome with a bunch of beehives.
Wait, what? Why did you burn that? Is that just something she does sometimes?
Yes, sometimes she just burns stuff. What a legend. That night I said some choice words by the campfire.
How have I not found beefalo? It's almost day 5. What am I doing? Where are beefalo? Where are beefalo? Missing in action. I want manure.
I did at least collect tons of resources in my search for another savanna. I had a whopping 24 carrots at this point. I stumbled upon another wormhole, so I figured why not? And on the other side was a swamp with a random abandoned farm area in the middle of it.
Holy crap.
And there were big floppy tentacles. I planted seeds in the 3 farms because why not? But I decided to bail back through the wormhole because the tentacles made me poop my pants. My sanity had dropped considerably, confirming my suspicion that the wormhole troubles the mind. So I picked flowers until I stopped seeing these shadow monsters. I also spontaneously burned some stuff, which is always a bonus. I found this froggy pond area and then this plugged sinkhole, which I unplugged with my pickaxe, and I accidentally spelunked. This generated an entirely new cave area, so presumably it's huge down here, but I immediately left as I figured I'd come back and give it a look-see once I actually had a base camp. I actually regret not giving it a proper explore, but as I said, I was terrified of everything, so a dark cave wasn't exactly inviting. I found yet another wormhole, and this one took me up north to this forest area featuring some graves, pigs, and spiders. I spent the night and took stock of the map while I awaited dawn.
Oh, there's an epic battle going on. Epic battle between pigs and spiders.
And after a quick look around, I decided to head back through the wormhole where I found this graveyard area. I began to doubt my earlier exploration efforts, so I wormholed back to the big savannas and gave them another look. Turns out I shouldn't have doubted myself because there were indeed no beefalos here, so I just wasted another day. I found yet another wormhole, so I headed through it, but I found no savanna.
Savannah. Savannah. Maxwell's door. What? If you died during adventure mode, you will return back to this portal where you may restart the adventure. You're about to step into a long, arduous journey to find Maxwell. You will need to survive 5 worlds, each randomly generated to present a new challenge. Okay. Not yet.
So I can't find a savannah to save my life, but I found Maxwell's door at least. I have no idea where that leads, but it sounds terrifying. I cooked 7 of my carrots to eat that night, and I still had 21 left over, so at least I wasn't starving. But seriously, those beefalo are elusive. I headed back through the wormhole and topped up my food supply a bit more, before finding this eye bone, the greatest find of all time.
What are you? What?
Chester goes where the eye bone goes, and he had 9 inventory slots. What a cute and glorious find. I also found this shipwreck with a parrot, but I had no idea what that was about.
You might as well carry some stuff, right? I hope the Chester can't die. I'll cry if Chester dies.
I had honestly been close to giving up and restarting, but upon finding Chester, I knew I had to persevere with this attempt. I went back through that wormhole from earlier and harvested my 3 crops, and just as I began to hear the hounds baying, I finally found another savannah. I found one of these touchstones too, which I quickly repaired, so I now had 1 respawn up my sleeve, and before long I had 2 hounds chasing me. Luckily, it happened to be a full moon, so I didn't have to deal with complete darkness. But the hounds were trying to eat Chester, which was highly offensive.
Oh, they got him. Run!
I fled deeper into the savannah, and as day 10 dawned, I finally found my reward.
Beefalo! Yes! Fight them! Fight them, Beefalo! Fight them! What are you doing? Yes! Yes!
We finally found beefalo.
That is the saga of the beefalo, if I've ever seen one.
I think this savannah stole all the beefalos in the universe because there were a lot down here. I began collecting manure before setting up a fire and cooking all my carrots and eating a bunch. I continued collecting manure on day 11 and ended up with a stack of 40 before deciding to reposition my camp further north so I was a bit closer to the other biomes and their resources, but still relatively close to my beefalo pals. I set up my science machine, made my first boards and whacked down a chest, planted some pine trees, crafted and placed 6 traps, and collected logs, rocks, and some freebies from this deceased miner. That night I cooked all my berries and then headed out with the daylight in search of trees. I chopped down a bunch and used my newly crafted shovel to spoon out the stumps, and I burned a few down for charcoal too. I ended up quite far north, so I set up a temporary camp for the night. Unfortunately, my entire stack of cooked berries went stale, so I needed to work towards new food quickly, but I needed stone for farms.
I think I built my base in a bad spot after all. I should have made it more central, maybe like here.
I wasn't going to restart my base again though, so it was what it was.
Burn! Burn!
I left those burning trees to collect on the way back and headed north. I continued collecting all the good stuff I stumbled across before heading back to base with a good haul. Fortunately, you run faster on the roads, and I deliberately built my base right next to the Savannah Road, so it wasn't the worst getting back there. I cut some stone and crafted some boards and made my alchemy machine, which I used to make my first 3 improved farms before running out of grass. I also made a crock pot, and fortunately the Savannah has an abundance of grass, which I collected, and I also planted tons of pine trees. Oh, the curse of the red butt was back, so my beefalo strategy was temporarily backfiring, but they only attack if you go quite close to them, so it wasn't so bad. I made a drying rack and put a rabbit morsel onto dry, and managed to get my farm count up to 5, and I harvested my first 3 crops at this base.
Let's cook this, surely it can't go wrong, right?
I whacked down farm number 6, and before long my meal was ready.
1 meatballs.
So that restored 62 points of hunger, pretty decent. And unlike food that is merely cooked on the fire, it also restored a bit of sanity, as well as a touch of health. I collected rabbits, grass, and manure, and I planted some saplings I dug up on my earlier travels. And I placed a bunch more traps down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rabbit traps around my base. Plus I've got 6 farms now, I want to say.
My small jerky was ready on the drying rack, and I cooked 4 morsels, which also made a meal of meatballs, and I placed down my 7th farm. Some veggies were ready, so I tried cooking morsels with corn, and that made meatballs, and I tried cooking morsels with carrots, and that also made meatballs. Obviously, different combos of ingredients make different meals, but I guess if the dominant food is meat, I'm gonna get meatballs, which seemed good to me. Day 17 of this attempt was a day of chores around the base, collecting rabbits, cutting down and replanting the odd tree, collecting grass, and cooking more meatballs.
Spiders are very noisy. Oh, I got a spider in there? What?
Apparently a spider wandered into my trap, earning me a spider gland. I made another chest to increase storage capacity, very nice, and then had a similar day to yesterday. I harvested a bunch of veggies and chucked them in the crock pot, and ended up with a new meal, stuffed eggplant.
Making it for my first spear on day like 7 million.
And so I had a good amount of food, a brand new spear, and a beefalo sleeping literally on top of my fire. Life was good. I tried to kill this pig, but he was legitimately a god gamer. He kept kiting me, making it impossible to land a hit. He eventually slipped up though, and I whacked him down and earned myself some pig skin. I really should have crafted log armor for the fight though, as I took a fair chunk of damage. I spent the day collecting, with an emphasis on digging up saplings so I could replant them near my base. I set up a temporary camp for the night, and I randomly got bothered by these bats.
Are you serious?
Fortunately, they sucked, so I killed them pretty easily.
Get out of here. Bat idiots.
I worked out later that these bats come out of the cave systems from the nearby unplugged sinkhole. I continued with my sapling collecting on day 20, and I also made the bold decision to dig up some graves. I dug up Gord's Knot, whatever that is, this ghost which chased me, and a tiny rocket ship.
Check out those tiny thrusters. What? Such explosive. Oh, what did I just get?
I headed home with 30 saplings in my bag, and once there I had a planting rampage. This spider bothered me, so I bonked it, which attracted the attention of 5 more spiders. I managed to kill them all, but I took a fair bit of damage. And once again, I'm not sure why I didn't have log armor handy. My food situation seemed under control, and I had renewable trees, twigs, and grass nearby. But I didn't really know what I should work towards next. I spied some interesting structures I could build, but the materials seemed tricky to acquire. As day 21 arrived, winter began to set in. So I figured shoring up my resources was the right choice anyway. And so I had a day of collecting rabbits and grass. I also had my last harvest before winter. That night, literally as it began to snow, I realized I did not have enough rocks for a thermal stone. I also hadn't managed to make any warm clothing, so I really was not ready to deal with the cold. And so I strode forth in search of rocks. I mined this boulder but only got 3 rocks, and I needed 4. And I stole these pig's flowers and made myself a garland to make sure I stayed sane. And then I headed through the butthole, because I could see some rocks on the map down this way. The cold set in, so I burned some stuff to keep warm, and I could hear the hounds baying again, which was really quite terrible timing.
Oh no, I'm gonna get attacked.
I finally made it to a boulder.
Oh, walruses. Are you guys friendly? Oh, you're not friendly. No!
In a game where just about everything is trying to kill you, I don't know why I had any hope they'd be friendly.
No. I don't know where my lighter is. What? I'm dead. I'm dead again.
Thankfully, the beefalo dealt with the hounds, but I had no fuel for the fire and I was beginning to freeze. I quickly grabbed some grass. Foolishly, I had most of my useful materials on me or Chester when I died.
What do I have? Oh, I've got charcoal. I can probably use that as fuel. If I can somehow survive this winter, I will be thoroughly amazed.
I had flint for tools too, but I had absolutely no twigs, so I couldn't even craft an axe for tree chopping. I at least managed to cook a couple of meatballs with some rabbit meat. Fortunately, these 3 saplings just a short run from my base were untouched, so I got myself 3 twigs. But can 3 measly twigs carry the entire weight of a long winter? I was not optimistic. I used 1 twig to make an axe, then collected 2 trapped rabbits and made some rabbit earmuffs, using up a second twig. I figured these were surely good for resisting the cold a little. I made sure to take them off when I was next to the fire so they lasted as long as possible. I chopped some trees and collected rabbits, and when murdering said rabbits, as well as the usual rabbit scream, I heard this weird hissing noise. But I didn't pay too much attention to it.
I've just googled when winter ends. Day 36 is the last day of winter. I might be able to make it that long. My food does not decay very fast, I think, because it's cold. So that's good.
Food spoils twice as slowly, to be precise. I was worried about fuel for the fire though, as I only had a bit of charcoal and 1 or 2 axes worth of wood from trees. But then I made a handy realization.
Oh, I can burn manure.
A stinky fire is still a fire, and beefalo don't stop pooping just because it's winter. And I had a couple of stacks handy in my chests, so maybe I had a chance at survival after all. I collected a bunch more rabbits, and once again as I murdered them, a weird hiss noise was heard.
I'm actually getting a decent food store. Am I going to survive 11 days?
Winter sure did have long nights though.
I'm just sitting here like a dingus, man.
When murdering my day 26 rabbits, I finally paid attention to the weird hissing.
What is that noise, man?
And when murdering rabbits later in the day, I finally saw what the hissing was all about.
What is that thing? What is he doing? He just swung. Oh, he destroyed my trap. He destroyed my trap. What the heck is that? What is that thing? Okay, it jumped into its own sack and disappeared.
So I googled it, and apparently there is a hidden naughtiness meter in this game, and murdering rabbits adds to your naughtiness. When you hit a certain threshold, you begin to hear that hissing, and if you don't stop being naughty for a while, that weirdo will come. Apparently he destroys your buildings, so I got off lucky because I'm pretty sure all he destroyed was 1 or 2 of my traps. Day 27 was much the same, with the short daylight hours dedicated to rabbit collecting. I was up to 7 meatballs and a couple of small jerky, but my traps were beginning to break, and I had no twigs with which to build new ones.
Probably got like 2 or 3 more meatballs left in me. If I have 9 or 10 meatballs, can I survive 9 days?
And once it was fully dark, I made a terrible mistake.
I can't... Oh, are you kidding me? I can't put the thing on.
What? What? No!
I couldn't put fire... because it was pitch black, I guess. I should have added more fuel to it before he did that. It's so frustrating. I wonder if I would have lasted the winter. I wonder.
For some reason, I assumed I'd be able to whack more logs on as soon as the weird shadow hand stole my fire. But I was wrong. I was ready with the logs, but in the dark, it simply didn't let me. What a fail.
Bereaved, is haunted by her twin sister, feels comfortable in the dark, doesn't hit very hard. The soulless automaton, not a picky eater, is charged by lightning but damaged by water, can upgrade with gears.
After googling exactly what these characters do, I opted to choose Wendy the Bereaved, because apparently the twin sister that haunts her fights for you, and I had proven myself a terrible fighter so far, so I figured that was the right choice for me. And here we go with attempt number 4. There was a touchstone right near spawn, so that was handy, but other than that, we've seen this all before.
Chop down some trees, cause I need wood. Wood is quite good. Yes, yes.
I found a random boomerang, checked through this toothy butthole to see what biomes were on the other end, and on day 2 I found beefalo.
Day 2 beefalo, everybody. The miracle of beefalo.
I quickly checked further west and discovered a flowery beehive biome, before heading back through the wormhole and collecting my fill of rocks, flint, and gold. I also found this crank thing, another random item I had no clue about. I set up camp just east of the beefalo, where I plonked down the usual, and I spent the night collecting logs. I had this flower in my inventory, by the way, and it had been slowly blossoming over the past few days.
The flower has now bloomed. It says Abigail is ready to play, but she needs some space. Interesting.
Obviously, this relates to my twin sister who haunts me, and I wasn't exactly sure what this meant, but I had an idea. I continued getting myself established, collecting poop and grass, setting some traps, and placing down my alchemy machine. I had my base down nice and early, but the trade-off was that I hadn't collected much food, so I went for a quick forage to top myself up and spent the night at this temporary camp. By the way, I really should have just made a torch and kept roaming during the complete dark with the torchlight to keep me safe, but for some reason I never worked this out. I kept the expedition going on day 5, collecting saplings, burning trees for charcoal, and grabbing anything else of interest. And I found I'd wandered to the other end of the wormhole near my base, so I took the shortcut home. I made 3 farms and cut myself some stone to make a crock pot, and made use of the morning light to plant a whole bunch of saplings. Grass was a limiting factor for both traps and farms, so I collected a whole bunch and got my 4th farm and a few more traps down. And that night I had my first harvest.
I want to see if I can get my sister to come out.
My theory was that the space my sister needed was something dead to inhabit, or something along those lines. So I wondered if I killed something, she'd appear. Killing these spiders didn't seem to work though. And I was desperately hungry, so I gave up waiting around for enough ingredients to use the crock pot and cooked my veggies on the fire instead. I then made a razor because for some reason I thought I'd be able to use it on the beefalo to shave off their fur. It didn't work. I cooked my first meatballs of this attempt, harvested some crops, and burned down some trees. That night some spiders from the nearby nest bothered me, so I slapped them.
You want to fight, man? I'll fight you.
I made a log suit, chopped down and replanted pine trees to replenish my log supply, and made myself another chest. I also implemented a rabbit murdering strategy, where I avoided murdering too many rabbits too quickly in order to avoid my naughtiness getting too high, ensuring that weird kobold thing with a sack doesn't bother me this time. To achieve this, I stored rabbits in this chest to space out murdering sessions. On day 9, I went and stabbed some bees, which yielded me a couple of stingers. I found a mine entrance not too far from my base, which was good news, and I finally had another go at summoning my twin sister Abigail. I threw my boomerang at this pig, and then it hit me in the face because I still had no idea how to catch the boomerang, and then I placed her flower down on the ground. I donned my log armor and fought the pig, and just as well I had the armor because he did chonky damage, and my plan worked.
There's Abigail.
I immediately tested out my twin sister's combat prowess.
She's hurting them all. She's a beast. What an absolute unit.
She pretty much stun-locked those spiders to death. Absolutely glorious. I then wandered to the end of the road.
Who's this big boy? Pig King. Live it up while you can, your majesty. Okay.
I opted not to bother the big fella, as I feared his considerable girth. I instead set up camp while Abigail demolished some spiders. And in the morning we fought some piggies, and it didn't go well.
Did she die? Okay, she's not invincible. Her flower's here. Okay, and I see. Her flower's shriveled up again.
So I guess I'll have to wait again before she returns, and maybe next time I won't fight 3 pigs at once, even though I do want their skin. On the way home, I placed a few more traps and collected more poop, and once home, I made 2 more farm plots. I used my influx of spiders' webs to make a net, and then got into a fight with some interloping spiders. And without Abigail to carry me, I very nearly died, but I panic ate some spider glands for health and managed to de-aggro the spiders. I collected twigs and rabbits before heading back to bee land to catch some bees.
Run! Killer bees!
I also caught a butterfly, and I think I may have angered a few fighter bees.
I got multiple battalions of killer bees chasing me.
My net broke once I'd caught 9 bees. And as I headed home, I heard the hounds signaling their imminent attack. So I went and hung out with my beefalo buddies.
Yeah, that's what you get. You get the wrath of the beefalo.
I discovered I just needed honeycomb for a bee box, and I wondered if murdering a bee might yield some.
Oh no, I turned all of them into stingers? I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to do one at a time. Ah, what can I do with stingers? Sleep dart. Cut reeds, jet feather.
Rest in peace, 9 bees. I harvested my crops, and between veggies and rabbits, my food situation was officially under control, with a stack of meatballs growing in my inventory. I found one of these skeleton blokes down here, so I claimed the boards he left behind, and then I dug up this suspicious pile of dirt, which revealed a footprint. And I found another, and another, and I followed them a while north, collecting flowers for a garland on the way. Eventually, I sensed the beast's presence nearby.
Oh, here it is. What is it? It pooped.
I camped the night, and in the morning Abigail was ready for her triumphant return, so I placed her flower down and killed a spider. I then attempted to fight the weird elephant, but it was too skittish so I couldn't even land a hit, so I left it be for now. I returned home to some chores, made myself another chest, and put Abigail to work dominating some spiders. Day 14 was a day of stocking up. I collected a whole bunch of logs while Abigail farmed spider drops, and day 15 was another day of stocking up. This time I headed through the wormhole to collect as much rock, flint, and gold as possible, and we also fought a pig, which almost killed me. I stayed the night and continued collecting in the morning before heading home with almost 100 rocks, 64 flint, and 16 gold nuggets. I'd also dug up a few berry bushes while out, so I planted those. But I didn't fertilize them with manure, so I guess I must have forgot that they won't grow after replanting, which is a bit goosey. I had yet another harvest, and I was collecting heaps of spider webs and glands because Abigail kept getting into fights with them. I returned with a new net to catch some more bees, and I discovered Abigail was quite the bee conqueror.
Get Abigailed.
One of the dead bees dropped my first bit of honey, and I decided to destroy one of the hives, which yielded some more honey and some honeycomb. I found this half-buried dingus, whose death provided me with a bunch of ropes, and I collected enough flowers to craft a replacement garland when my current one broke.
Bee mine. Weaponized bees, what could go wrong? Make a bee box over here. They shall labor so I can steal. Perfect.
I picked up Abigail's glorious spider mess from the night's battles, and wondered if making the beehive so close was a mistake because now my base was constantly buzzing.
No, there's flaming bees buzzing constantly. It was a mistake. It's definitely a mistake.
I placed manure on the berry plants, I guess I did remember after all, and now I had yet another food source right next to my base. I then ate a bunch of spider glands to top up my health. I made a bird trap out of spider webs and twigs, placed some seeds in it as bait, and very quickly caught myself a birdie.
Hey! I don't know why it took me so long to try this. Red bird. Murder. Crimson feather. What can I do with a crimson feather? Fire dart. Cut reeds. I don't have any reeds. I don't even know where a swamp is where I can get reeds. Down here, there's lots of exploring to do. I've only found one wormhole on this map.
It's true I hadn't explored too much, but this sums up my approach to this attempt.
I really just need to dig in for a big winter, right?
I placed a lightning rod and collected my second captured bird, a crow whose murder yielded me a jet feather. And it's certainly the case that I was well stocked for winter. I had heaps of all the essential materials on me, as well as backup stacks in my chests. And I had a whole bunch of meatballs. Almost too many, as they were threatening to go stale. Oh, and I had plenty of materials with which to make a thermal stone in preparation for the cold. So that was a relief. Regardless, I struck out on day 20 with aims to stockpile even more. I gathered pretty much everything, and I explored a little too, uncovering another bee area over here, as well as some ponds. But my expedition was cut short by some silly hounds, which forced me to run back to the safety of the beefalo. The cold was beginning to set in on day 21, so I collected heaps of grass and placed a few more rabbit traps. As I knew the crops and berries were on pause now, so I figured I'd better go heavier on the rabbits. I also tried cooking morsels with honey for the first time.
Honey nuggets. Honey nuggets, let's go.
I tried for another expedition, hoping to snag a round of berries and carrots before the snows came, but I ended up running for ages down this road without finding the right biome. I did at least notice this swampy area on the way back, where I finally collected some reeds.
I've never had reeds before. Worth.
And then began winter. I played it pretty conservatively because, as we've established, I was quite fearful. And at this point I began stockpiling rabbits big time, which took a lot of chest space, but it meant they didn't spoil, and of course I could control my naughtiness by being more deliberate with my murdering timings. On day 25 I poked some beehives, because even though the worker bees were hibernating, the killer bees still came out to defend. I figured I'd let Abigail stunlock them to death and hope for honey drops, as that was a good ingredient to mix with the rabbit morsels, which would ultimately reduce the number of rabbits I needed to murder and therefore reduce my overall naughtiness. I destroyed a couple of the hives too, but these don't respawn, so I left the rest intact for a renewable bee source.
My meatballs are stale? That's not good.
So perhaps I over-prepared after all. I had so much food lying around it was going foul. I made another chest for rabbit hoarding, and I had a nice pile of spider glands, since Abigail couldn't resist getting into scraps with the local spider population.
So many spider glands. I actually use a couple. My health got a bit low. Let's go bother some bees.
After another wonderful bee bothering session, I came away with 21 stingers and 2 honey. Not bad. I started taking damage from the cold on the way home, as my thermal stone had lost its toastiness, and my rabbit earmuffs were clearly not fluffy enough, so I burned this grass to warm up. The next morning, day 28 had dawned, and I'd officially lasted longer than ever before.
Let's go bother some bees again. Let's go bother some bees.
This bee bothering session backfired when Abigail reverted into a flower, and this iteration of Abigail must have killed about 40 spiders and 40 bees, so I guess she earned her rest. I stayed on top of the usual chores, and on the morning of day 29 I was visited by an old friend.
Oh no, I literally just was wondering why I hadn't seen any of these big fellas around. Yes! Yes! How's this gonna end? Oh, beefalo wool. Oh! Yes! Look at all this. And he doesn't care about me anymore. Oh my gosh, this is glorious.
I'd scored myself 6 beefalo wool, 8 meat, and a beefalo horn, which you can blow to lure beefalo. As I investigated what I could craft with the wool, I realized my remaining meatballs had spoiled. A shame, but I already had a stack of 6 nuggets with honey and chests full of rabbits, so I wasn't at any risk of starving. Without Abigail around to bash people up, the spiders were quite annoying at night.
There's Mr. Tree. Did you get any more fights with beefalo, Mr. Tree?
Apparently not, so I guess I've got a tree lurking nearby now. I made yet another rabbit hoarding chest, and I literally had 20 rabbits stockpiled at this point. I'm sure they love life stuffed in a wooden box together. These spiders chased me around at night again, and Treebeard rudely refused to help me, but I survived the night, and on day 31 Abigail was ready to return. So I aggroed some spiders and brought her back. Good to see you, Ghosty. I seemed to be managing quite well, and I was already over halfway through winter, but that night something outrageous happened.
What is that? That's a big mama. That's a huge spider. I think it's stuck in the trees.
So apparently the local spider population has evolved, or the big mama has emerged, or something. While praying the enormous arachnid came no closer, I cooked 4 of the meat from those beefalo and made my first meaty stew. And as day 32 dawned, all hell broke loose. Some hounds decided it was time to annoy me, so I attempted to get them in a war with the spiders.
Go on, get into a fight with the spiders. Abigail's so dead. Look at this! Get out of there, Abigail! Retreat!
Abigail went beast mode and took down a bunch of spiders and I think some doggies too, but she was looking a little worse for wear.
Retreat, 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 retreat! Oh yeah, bring the big spider over here. Come on, tree boy. Oh no, don't fight the tree. Oh, okay, Abigail's dead again. Come on, tree. Fight the spider. Yeah, here we go. No, fight the spider. Come on, why doesn't the tree want to fight?
I tried to get some beefalo involved in the melee, but they refused to engage too. And all the while, the mama spider kept spawning more gremlin spiders.
Why am I getting permanently chased by these nerds? How do I get you in an angry mood? Are you in an angry mood now? Come on, beefalo. Oh, he's fast. Please fight them. Please fight them. Please fight them. I made a grave mistake, you know.
So I think enraging literally every enemy in the vicinity was definitely not the play, because now I had the entire zoo after me. No matter what I did, I couldn't get them to fight each other, and so I had a fun night running around in circles like an idiot. I managed to set the tree on fire, so that was something.
Right, the big thing's on fire. Are they just sleeping in my base? Oh my, they set up a home on my base.
And with that, it was time to give up on reclaiming my base, for now at least. I ran west a little, which lost me the attention of the various enemies, and I set up a new campfire. And in some ways it was like starting all over. Fortunately, I had 2 meaty stews on me, which were quite nourishing, and I had 1 healing salve that I made from spider gland and ash, so I topped up my health a little too. I got another crock pot down, and honestly, setting up additional camps is something I needed to do anyway, just so I had more bases of operation to get better use out of the map. So I was at least partly grateful that the incident of the 5 million angry enemies forced me to broaden my horizons.
You can't defeat me that easily. I thought I was done. I didn't need to panic.
I released and killed a rabbit to get Abigail back, and that took a big chunk of my sanity apparently, so on day 34 I headed out in search of flowers.
Believe there are flowers around. Here we go. Oh, there's another one of these things. Okay, now I got 2 resurrections.
I found enough flowers to craft a garland, solving my sanity woes, and I found some berries too, so that was a handy bonus. As I sicked Abigail on some bees, the snow dried up, good signs, and I got a fascinating drop.
Give me honey. Ooh. Bundling wrap blueprint. Learn. Okay.
I had no idea that there were blueprints in this game, but bundling wrap sounds interesting. I finished day 34 confident that I'd survived the crisis.
An expedition back to the main base. The spider-infested main base. Okay, everyone's angry at me. Abigail is fighting 6,000 spiders at once. Oh, there's honey. 1 honey after all this time. Okay. Well, Abigail's dead again.
After Abigail's valiant sacrifice, I managed to collect some resources, and I planted my crops too, so hopefully they'll grow as soon as winter is over. But while I was trying to find Abigail's flower, this yellow idiot started harassing me, so I fled back to my new base. I set up a chest and made sure to place half a stack or so of the essentials in it, so that if things got dicey, there'd always be a fail-safe camp with everything I needed. I collected rabbits for meatballs and chopped down some more trees. On day 36, I rescued Abigail's flower and managed to purloin more stuff from my old base, and I murdered 16 rabbits, enough for 4 meals of meatballs. 2 berry bushes were even ready, so things were looking up. As I continued establishing my second base, I think I began to feel somewhat confident in this game for the first time.
I believe this means I officially survived winter. Let's go, baby!
I celebrated by chopping down a bunch of trees. I placed down another chest and a science machine which I used to craft a fishing rod.
Can I? Oh, I can.
I was able to snag this Floydson, but I had no idea how the minigame worked. I got there eventually though, and fished up a sea worther, some grass, and a soaked candle. I headed west to the Pig King on day 38, and on the way I dug a grave.
Blue gem. Ooh.
And I tested something I learned on Google.
Oh, that gave me a lot. Pig King is my G. He accepts gifts from me and gives me gold in return. It's like an opposite of the Minecraft situation.
I then spectated a round of pig versus spider violence.
Nice. Free loot.
I dug up another blue gem from this grave, and I discovered I can fish up fishies in ponds. Wonderful news and yet another food source.
Alright, I got 4 fish.
I cooked them up and they gave me meatballs, which doesn't seem right, but whatever. I set up a 3rd chest, and the hounds were back to bother me yet again, so I led them to my beefalo buddies.
What the hell? How did they catch on fire? Where would I be without beefalo? We love beefalo. Yes, we do.
The hound count seemed to increase as the playthrough progressed, so it is indeed just as well I had beefalo to exploit.
Nice, more honey.
What? That night, Abigail was ready to play, so I sacrificed my sanity by whacking this innocent rabbit in order to welcome her back. I also made a few healing salves and topped up my HP. And on day 40, we headed to battle.
Alright, we might actually do it. Yes! Reclaimed the homeland.
So that was easier than expected.
This one still looks terrifying.
I decided to take it on anyway, because after the Spider Queen incident, I figured it unwise to keep the spider's nest quite so close to my base. Fortunately, Abigail is of course a unit, so I managed to destroy it, and I was pleased to discover it dropped an egg, so I was able to replace it, just a little bit further away so it wasn't such a threat, but close enough so that I could still easily farm webs and glands.
Well, we reclaimed the original base. Feels good. Oh no. Did I just infuriate the beast? I didn't mean to chop the tree, bro. Oh no.
Abigail was KO'd by some leafy limbs, and these idiot music shadow hands kept bothering me, so I had a rough night.
Whew, that night was stressful.
I set up a food and rabbit chest at base number 2, and I wandered back towards the old base, collecting on the way, but the big tree dingus decided he hated me again.
This tree hates me. One day I'll kill the tree haunting my my first base.
I went on a sanity expedition of flower picking, and while out, I discovered this weird box thing and gnome ruin situation, and I collected the day away. On day 43 of this 4th attempt, I made an alchemy machine, and spent the day looking more closely at all the recipes available to me, as now that I'd stabilized, I felt I'd better find a way to progress. And I finally made a tent.
Oh, it chewed through my hunger. But if I'm good for food, that's not that bad. Interesting. I think it gave me sanity and I think it gave me health as well.
So this was a great way to essentially trade food for health and sanity. Very handy indeed, especially if my food situation remains strong. I decided to collect some evil flowers, as these can be turned into nightmare fuel. They removed 5 sanity apiece, but I was at max, so I figured it was no big deal.
Oh, look at you. Totally normal tree. That is a totally normal tree. What the heck?
I set up a camp near my friend the Pig King, and I gave him a gnome. I tried to give him the box thing too, but he didn't want it. So I guess this is no mere trinket as I'd assumed. Some pigs punched this frog, so I got my first frog legs, and then we fought the pigs because I wanted some pig skin. But unfortunately, they only dropped meat. And the next day we got into an all-out brawl with a rather large group of pigs, which didn't go well. And I tried to appease this pig with a carrot, but that also didn't end well. Once back at base, some hounds arrived to bother me yet again, but they were of course no match for some red bum beefalo. Also, they spontaneously caught on fire again, which was inspirational.
Are you here to fight me again? You silly dingus. Why do you hate me so much?
While this idiot chased me around, I made myself a top hat.
Alright, top hat. Can I wear this?
I ran back to my other base and used the top hat plus some boards and a rabbit to make a prestihatitator. I think that's how you say it. And this outrageous device lets you make magical stuff. And it revealed some juicy new recipes.
Telelocator stuff. Oh, I can teleport with this, I guess? Oh my gosh, there's so much more to this game.
And I used the prestihatitator to turn those evil petals into nightmare fuel.
Telelocator seems nuts. How do I make a shadow manipulator? I need a purple gem. I've got blue gems. I need red gems. Living log, so I need to kill one of those big idiots. Alright.
And with that revelation of all this game still had to offer, suddenly I'd completed my 100th day in Don't Starve. I spent 1 day on my first attempt, 26 days on attempt 2, 27 days on attempt 3, and 46 days and counting on this glorious attempt 4. And with 2 solid bases, I'm well established to survive long term, to explore the rest of the map and uncover all the secrets that await me. So comment below if you'd like to see 200 days. Check out my raft series where I make the most glorious raft you've ever seen. Cheers.